Hello, everybody. I'll tell you, I was excited before, but after that video, I am even more pumped.
Oh, I know. I love that animation and that music.
Hello, and welcome to the Creative Experience 2D event. We're so excited you're here to learn about Adobe Illustrator and Adobe Aero. We have a great event planned out for you today. I know I'm at least looking forward to learning some new Illustrator techniques.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see this event unfold and watch it come to life.
We are super proud to present our event to you after working so hard on it since school opened back up in fall. Let me introduce myself. My name is Quint, and I'm a UX major at Savannah College of Art and Design. I'm originally from Northern Virginia, right outside Washington, D.C. I am actually curious, is anyone else from Nova here? Go ahead and pop off in chat if you are.
And hello, my name is Sarah. I'm your second host, and I'm an illustration major at SCAD as well. I currently live in a small town called Burley, Idaho, but I've grown up all over the United States.
I think some people might need some more context for that. Where is that?
We're like 3 hours north of Salt Lake City. We're not in the middle of nowhere, but like we're just on the edge of nowhere.
Well, I guess if you're from Burley, go ahead and pop off in chat too. We want this to be super interactive for everyone. Kind of like Twitch, if you've ever used that before. We don't want this to be boring and just, like talking at you. So we'd love to see what you guys have in chat there. I see someone from Vienna. Okay. All right. Brian, I see you from Alexandria. Awesome. Awesome. Hank as well. Good to meet all you guys. If this is your first time using On24, there are a few things that you should know. On24 is basically like the business version of Twitch, but it's actually a little bit more capable because of these modules we have. I'll walk you through them real quick. On the top left, that's where I am. It's good to see you. Hello. If we play a video or share our screen, it'll pop up there too. Underneath that, we have some free resources you can take advantage of during the event and even afterwards if you want. At the bottom, you have a dock with controls for each of these modules. Go ahead and do me a favor, and if you haven't already, click on that one that says group chat just so that pops up if it isn't already. I'll wait for you guys and look for some people in chat there. Wow. Wow, we have so many people in chat. Oh my gosh, this is great. Let's see. You guys all got that? Perfect. This is a space for you guys to talk. Again, it's just like Twitch chat, although I don't know if we want any poggers in there. The last module is on the bottom right, and it's a special place for you guys to ask us a question. If you have a question you want to be asked or answered by us or by the host, go ahead and send it there. And when you do, we'll either respond verbally or individually if that's more appropriate. Just to start off, just to get our toes a little wet, I'm going to ask a question, and I want to see your guys' answer in chat just so we can demo this. Let's see. On a scale of 1 to 10, how are you guys doing today? I care. I want to know. On a scale of 1 to 10. Sarah, while we're waiting, how are you doing on a scale of 1 to 10?
I am doing wonderfully. I'd say I'm a 9 out of 10 right now.
A 9 out of 10? Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's really high. Oh, I'm starting to see. I see a 12. Oh my gosh. That's amazing. A -3. Oh no. I know for all of our SCAD friendos, this is finals week for the quarter. So I'm aligning with you there. This week has definitely been a trial. I appreciate you guys coming out. 8.76453. Wesley, you are very precise. I appreciate your precision in your answer. That is great. Let's see. So I think we got that down, which is really great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for using chat. Feel free to just ask us whatever there, but if you have a question you want us to answer, feel free to send it to that Q&A section. We'll do our best to get back to you.
All right, and let's also see it in the chat. How many of you guys are in the Discord server for this event?
Ooh, the Discord server. We're having a wonderful time in the Discord server. If you don't know, we have a Discord channel just for this event that's about to get hectic with all the stuff with the design challenge we're introducing at the end. So definitely join that if you want to participate. We'll have a link in chat for you guys if you do want to do that. Well, we have a great show planned out for you that has some really cool things for 2D veterans and for noobs. But before we get into it, we want to thank our sponsors for this event. Z by HP, HP's workstation line, Adobe, NVIDIA, and Intel. Z by HP recently released the ZBook Studio G7, which is the world's most powerful workstation of its size based on thermal design power, which allows you to take advantage of HP's great product design, Adobe's creative software, NVIDIA's powerful graphics, and Intel's blazing fast processors. go ahead and check it out on their website or using the link in chat. We'll have someone put that in there too.
I like the shameless plug. So today we have a very special guest. He goes by Mexifunk on Instagram, and he is truly the Mexican who changed the look of Vector. His name is Orlando Arocena.
Welcome, welcome, Orlando. How are you doing, man?
Hey, what's going on? What's up, SCAD? What's up, Quint? What's up, Sarah? How you guys doing?
Oh, very well, very well.
Thank you.
We
Awesome.
we have some of your work here, Orlando, just so everyone can see why we're so excited to have you here. You've been on a couple different things. I think the one I'm most familiar with, and hopefully a lot of other people here are familiar with, is the 2014 Adobe CC splash image. As you load up that app, hopefully many, many times during the course of a day, you get to see that really great image. So hopefully we have some people that recommend that, or that remember that. How are you doing, man? It's good to see you.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to share some time with you and Sarah and the rest of SCAD. I'm down in Bogota, Colombia, South America. So hopefully our stream doesn't get interrupted by any type of Colombian soap novels, novelas. But I'm totally amped to share with you guys, to chew the fat, go down memory lane, and proceed forward, man. So I'm doing well,
I'm so glad to hear that. Well, let's get into it. I know we have a lot of people here waiting to get into the meat of this thing. Let's get into the first part. And this first kind of section, we're going to ask you about your creative process and just that first part of capturing what's around you and where you get that inspiration from. So just to start off, how do you typically get your inspiration? Do you go for walks or observe the places around you? How does that usually go?
Oh man, it's a mixture of many things. Obviously it definitely relies on whether I'm going into a personal project, piece of exploration. If I'm doing that, then I'm sampling a bunch of different things, whether I'm looking out the window, going for a walk, looking at a book, going for a museum run, surfing the web. But if I'm actually working on a true commission, a collaboration with an agency or with a brand or with a movie studio, then obviously there's a brief and a kickoff to understand what the overall goal is. And then from there, depending upon what the subject matter needs to be, then I'm jumping all around, so whether it's music, whether it's the internet, I'm a really big fan of culture. So I like to blend things all around. I love art history, and I love to just jump back, go through the bin of art history, and then go alongside of that, parallel with culture, different ethnicities, visual cues from those groups, and combining them into a jambalaya whenever needed. So I could totally borrow from something that might be Art Deco and give it a few splashes of a cultural vibe, from like the Middle East, or look at, Hindu art and how colorful and vibrant that might be, and borrow from that. And the next thing you know, I'm creating something that hasn't really been invented, instead of just blatantly going back and going, okay, I'm just going to stay here in Art Deco mode and just pull from that. I mean, I can, but I tend not to. I just want to create something that's never been done before.
I love that, the jambalaya. That sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Hey, spicy the better.
Yeah, I was thinking like a melting pot of different styles, different cultures, and origins. I love that.
Yeah, I think it's important. I think it's very, very important to understand the past and all the different schools and all the different streams of thoughts that went into visual creativity. The expressive nature of all that has a power all into itself. To neglect it and to just throw it away because it's just history and I don't want to be tormented by history, then you're really not understanding the true benefit that it could yield for yourself now in the contemporary.
Yeah.
I see we got Sam C in the chat. I was gonna say, I see we have Sam C in the chat who's shouting out the art history squad. So definitely, we're getting some appreciation for that.
Right on, right on. Cool.
How would you say that you influence like your art with your own culture, being like growing up Mexican and Cuban and working with a lot of American companies?
Oh, it's always a blast. It's always wild because I'll get called up or requested to work with a particular brand or an agency, and it's always around this time that they're preparing for things like Halloween or Dia de los Muertos, and I'm usually being called up for that. So many times I'll be called up around January or even later than that, December, November, to be called up for like Cinco de Mayo for some of the other other brands out there. And yeah, I mean, even so, I mean, this one illustration that you guys showed up at the intro of it, this Gamora Day of the Dead piece that I did for Marvel, for Guardians of the Galaxy premiere. I actually just did it to just have fun and combine my culture with something that's at the time was very pop. And then I sent it in to a few of my connections over at Marvel, and they were just like, holy crap, you know what, this is what we want. We're about to do a press release for the DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, for Guardians of the Galaxy, and what else do you have? And I was like, hey, you know what, here, I did Star-Lord as well. Check it out. So whenever I get a chance to blend in my culture, I definitely go full steam with it.
Yeah, I love that. So getting a little bit more specific now, I think some people were curious, like, do you use mood boards to like get your ideas out? Do you like to sketch traditionally or like in Photoshop, or what's your process like?
Yeah, it's wild. I'm back from the school of the 90s, and back then we didn't have much of this that exists today. We didn't have so much at our fingertips. We didn't even have the internet. So I was very used to looking through magazines and doing my clippings and then putting them away in file folders into a file cabinet and creating somewhat of a visual morgue, kind of demented, but hey, it's a morgue, it's where everything's stored. And fast forward to now, what I'll do is that I'll just really do a competitive landscape search. I'll, depending upon the subject matter and the title of what I'm playing with, I'll definitely jump on Google and search abroad to see what's already been created for this particular subject matter. Especially if it's for a movie studio and they're calling me up to do a steel case, packaging for a very, very popular movie that debuted back in the 90s. You take that in consideration, and if it's very, very popular, there's, over 1,001 different iterations and creative viewpoints and, of how this movie has already been spoken for. So I love doing competitive landscapes to see what's out there, what exists. And then from there, I'm basically either doodling in a sketchbook, or if I'm pressed for time, I'll just jump right into Illustrator and just start sketching. Obviously I'll have a few visual elements that might be sent to me from the client, as far as like, hey, here's what the key actors of this movie might look like. Let's try to stick very close to their resemblance. Let's not stylize it too much. Often at times it's the opposite. Sometimes they're like, hey, we don't want to show any resemblance of any popular actors that are in this cast. Can we go a different route? So, by all means, I'm literally starting off doing my research, collecting assets, and then playing from there.
That's so cool, man. Thanks for sharing that with us. I think the next part we should talk about after we've talked about inspiration and we want to know what else is out there. Let's go into the demo, because a big part of what we're going to be talking about today is kind of like how to achieve this art style and some pointers that you might have for people going through that. So if you'd like, we'd love for you to share screen and get right into it in Illustrator.
All right, time to have some fun, huh? So here we go. Let's screen share. Cool. All right. Whoa. Okay. So, can you guys still hear me?
Yes, you sound great.
Woo. All right. For a second, there was that there was that pause, and I was like, I totally lost everyone. Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no. So, I'm obviously in Adobe Illustrator. All right, and I'm playing on my Z by HP workstation. I'm on my Z4, and for all of you, I mean, I feel really, really comfortable playing on a workstation. When I'm hitting the road, generally playing on one of my Z laptops. But what I'm going to be playing with right now is just having fun, overall fun, with something that I'm hoping that you could then take into AR. So a lot of what I do is working and trying to play with Illustrator in not so typical manner. You know, I was attracted to Illustrator back when I was working for a bunch of different galleries and different agencies. I used to be a design director for a few different agencies that would work for such brands like Pepsi and Diageo. And while I was there, everyone was terrified of Illustrator because it wasn't like Photoshop. And that's one of the reasons why at the time, back in the early 2000s, I was loving it. Because I didn't want to basically be one of a million people that were playing in the same playground. I wanted to challenge myself and play with something that everybody was terrified of, and something that actually provoked me to want to learn to do more. You know? Are you guys still there?
We are.
Oh, all right. Oh, talk to me, man. I'm over here like wondering what's going on. But generally, what I love about Illustrator is, you know, its indefinite scalability, and that it's still my favorite video game. You know, it's aggravating at times because it doesn't lend itself to be just like Photoshop, and I think that's the beauty of it. You know, so right now with what I'm doing is that I love playing with gradients. All right, I really do.
Do you, I know Illustrator has a lot of different gradient methods. Do you like the linear or like the more specific one with the points, I guess?
Yeah, like the mesh gradient.
I mean, one thing that I stay away from is the vector mesh gradient. You know, I've seen some powerful heavy hitting artists play with it in such a way that it's just astounding, you know, but it's so time consuming, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, what I like to do is try to be cognizant of what, you know, how much time did I have to deliver a particular job, a particular project. When you're dealing with something like a vector mesh gradient, for me, it's very time consuming, extremely time consuming, and it's something that I'm more along the lines of wanting to play with something that I could actually have some spontaneous moments, some really cool beneficial mistakes, you know?
Yeah. We have some questions here from some of the people that are starting to roll in. I think you kind of answered this one a little bit, but it looks like someone asked, what kind of hardware setup are you using? I know you mentioned your computer, but are you using like a tablet or like another display?
Oh, yeah, no. I'm most definitely using a tablet. So I'm on a Z by HP Z4 workstation, right? It's got an Intel i9 core processor, and it's got about 64 gigs of memory. It's a 3.5 gigahertz Ferrari. It's pretty fast.
Yeah.
And I have a NVIDIA RTX GeForce graphics card to help with the refresh rate when I'm playing here. As far as monitors, I'm on a Z by HP Dream Color display. I think it's their 27-inch or larger. Put it this way, I'm running out of desk space. It's that wild. And as far as like the amount of detail and luminance, I love it because I'm able to really customize it beyond just my way. Like, for instance, if I'm dealing with a particular production team or printer, you know, I could actually try to calibrate it to match their profile, which is pretty cool in the industry, you know?
Yeah, that's huge. I didn't know that. That's really cool.
Yeah, no, there's a new line of Z by HP Dream Color displays that are going to be coming out very, very soon, where they're actually going to be profiled. They're going to have a separate profile with Pantone. So that's going to be insanely wild to have in the industry. And obviously, what's really cool about the next set of these monitors is that you just don't need to predominantly be on, you know, one platform. They work across multiple platforms, which is really, really cool. As far as graphics tablet, I'm on a Wacom Intuos Pro Small. I used to have a medium, but it totally croaked on me a few months ago after 7 years.
Oh no!
No! But
that's okay.
Anyway, you guys are probably wondering, like, what the hell am I doing here? Well, what I'm trying to do here is that I like to play with different shapes, and I'm not too much of a tracer, you know, but I'm really big on wanting to explore something that's called automatic drawing, which is what the old surrealists used to do, like Joan Miro. You know Miro? He used to do like these squiggly, different, crazy characters, and it was all from the surreal school. And what I really like about doing it is just letting your imagination flow. All right?
Yeah, I can see we got like at least for me, my imagination is seeing a hat and two eyes and like a little chin underneath.
Yeah. No, what I'm trying to play with right now is trying to just bug out and do trying to come up with like this robot character so that we could at least see him towards the very end of our gig.
I think by the end of our gig, we should also give him a name.
Right on. I like that.
So maybe
that's something we can ask chat for.
Chat.
What do you think we should name our robot? And you're going in there with all kinds of shapes and like colors and stuff. Someone asked, they said your color is a trademark of your work. How have you honed your use of color over time? Or do you have any quick tips on how to navigate choosing colors?
Oh, man. I used to be terrified of colors, to be honest with you. I mean, seriously terrified. I would try to do work that really didn't involve too many colors. And then finally, I just said, you know what? I'm tired of being afraid of these things, of being afraid of color. So I just pushed myself and really kind of like allowed myself to understand a bit more about complementary colors and, you know, different value sets and tones. And then with that in mind, I started looking at how other artists might have used colors, different schools and different time periods. The whole pop scene was very robust with color. You have Manet, who would paint so much with color as well, and in such a different virtuous way of dealing with his brushstrokes. But deep down in mind, I'm really much more of like just a painter, a traditional painter who's just playing with technology and allowing it. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm actually going to get into this adjust colors, right? So instead of fishing around over here with my color bars and swipes and my swatches, I want to play around and see whether I could play around with coming up with different value sets and different colors that I might be able to blend in later on. It's pretty tough to blend in Illustrator just because you don't have the familiar available to you. Ah, damn it. Let's do that again.
Yeah, so that's just edit colors and then adjust colors.
Yeah, so I like to go in here and play around with it, and then save it. And then see what else we could do with it, all right? So
you mentioned that there's kind of a difference between Illustrator and Photoshop is the difference in color handling. We had a couple of questions about like what are some other differences that you find between Illustrator and Photoshop just in terms of process?
Well, there's plenty. Obviously, in Photoshop, you're able to really customize a majority of things to your arsenal. For instance, if I was to go in here and grab a brush, right? Photoshop allows you to basically play with so many different brushes. You can play and customize with brushes, but what a lot of people tend to overlook or not really explore within Illustrator is that there's also embedded with the application some really awesome native brushes, which I tend to use as if they were just very similar to like the airbrush, right?
Yeah, I see what you're doing there.
You know what I mean? So I could get in there and play. I mean, usually a lot of people tend to see just this artistic calligraphic palette, of brushes, or they'll see the pencil and they'll go in the stroke and they'll modify to have tapered edges, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's really, really cool if I'm going to come in here and do, an outline, right?
I think that's one of the biggest struggles that a lot of people tend to have when trying to, like, having experience in Photoshop and trying to transition to Illustrator and figure out the mechanics of that, because it is raster, or it is going from raster to vector, and figuring out how to get that illustrative kind of quality.
That's a great point. And they'll get frustrated. They'll be like, oh my God, how come this doesn't react like it does in Photoshop? Oh my God, Jesus. I mean, I remember I wanted to just throw my computer at, back in the early 2000s when I was teaching myself out the window. I was like, no, this isn't.
Yeah.
But one thing that I really, really appreciate about, the mechanics in Illustrator is that, here's a live stroke, right? Where initially I had started off with just one color. What I really love about it is that I could basically go in and use my gradient. To give it more personality, more dimensionality. If I want to try to have it like backlit, have this helmet be backlit.
Yeah, that's powerful.
But seriously, I love telling folks that, man, there's so much that's overlooked with this program. Here we could go with like, if you want to get in with like textures, no problem. Here's, we could play with textures.
And you just like brush that on just like another vector thing. Is that a vector brush as well?
Yeah, that's just another vector brush.
That's crazy.
See?
I don't use Illustrator too much. I can draw stick figures. It's about where I am.
No, but I mean, what's really wild about this is that here's a stroke, right? That's textured and kind of wild, right? And what I can do is that I could expand upon it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or not. I could keep it active, live. And what I could do is that I could go in here, right? And quickly just make a shape. Make sure that I have both elements, right? And then I could go in and make a clipping mask. What? Oh, okay. I got one on top of the other. Duh. And if I hit my Control 7 or my Command 7, now I've got that masked out to that shape.
Ooh. Okay, so it's just on that top part.
Yeah, and I could still manipulate it through my adjustment layers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's still editable.
Now,
it's non-destructive.
Yeah, I mean, the only screwed up thing between the two examples of strokes that I just sent you, I just shared with you, is that, let's go back to, I'll separate them so you can see, right? Here's your native artistic graphic, calligraphic brushes, right? Cool. Here's our textured brush, and here's our bristle. Well, 3 of these guys can play with gradients. You see that?
Yeah.
This guy, same thing. So what I love to do is that I'll play with this, and I'll make sure that within my gradient spectrum, I'm capping it off with the same color that might generally be within that area, right? And then I'm dropping it down to 0.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
So that now I'm getting that error effect without having my endpoints be obviously an endpoint within a stroke. When you're looking at some Illustrator vector stuff and you're like, oh man, I can see that this stroke ends here and ends there because of the color brackets, right? The way that they're manipulated in that area or that zone. What I like to do is to basically use this gradient spectrum in such a way that I'm hiding my endpoints and allowing the center spectrum of blended colors to be a benefit. Make sense?
Yeah, that's powerful, man. I mean, I can definitely see how this would be appreciated if you're using Illustrator, because it helps hide those crimes, of the fact that it's digital work.
Hide the crimes. Man, I love that. That's pretty cool, dude. So let me keep on going. One thing that I'm not really big on, and I apologize for this for everybody that's watching, is that I'm not really too much of making effects and engineering things left and right. That's like, hey, look, I'm going to take this stroke of dots and I'm going to turn it into a pattern and do all sorts of things. I generally tend to be a bit more traditional when I'm playing with what I'm doing. I'm still wanting to take control and demand of my creativity on the computer. You know, I don't really want to give all of my liberty up as far as like, you know, taking credit for what I've done on the computer. Does that make sense at all?
Absolutely.
It totally does. Yeah.
Something that a lot of the people in the illustration department, I know for sure, have, that's what we work on balancing, is if we enjoy both traditional and digital art. I know a lot of people will like maybe do watercolor traditionally and then scan it, so then overlay it as a texture and just throw some digital work on it as well.
Definitely.
It's in the same manner, we have a question in the chat from Kristen. She asks, what are the main differences in creating on paper versus a tablet or e-experience? Do you prefer one over the other?
Oh man, they're so uniquely different. You know, one thing I'll tell you what is that for the longest time I've had, you know, Adobe and a few other companies come at me and be like, hey, we want you to play with this tablet, blah, 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 blah. And I'll turn them down just because, you know, I really don't like the texture on the screen. You know, I mean, it doesn't have any texture. It's glass. I like to have a very matte kind of surface to play with if I'm going to play with like a tangible area. That's why, you know, my ZBook X2 that I travel with from HP has a matte finish on the screen, so I could draw right on it, and it's just not that slick. You know what I mean? When it comes to paper, oh man, there's so many different types of paper that you could play with out there. You know, I mean, you could go very, very soft to very toothy type of Canson to, you know, old school newsprint, to different types of arches, to a big extreme like scratchboard.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So when it comes to playing with paper, it's wild because I love it, and I love trying to find ways to integrate it within my creative process. Now you're probably all thinking, wow, but you know, with Illustrator, that's probably got to be a pain in the ass or a pain in the butt. Sorry, you know. And for the most part, it is. It totally is. But you know, you could bring in a texture that's been scanned. You know, say you take a dry brush and you scan it in, and you'll have it as a JPEG or a PNG. And most commonly, what you're going to be doing in Photoshop is like, you know, breaking it down and creating a brush out of it. In Illustrator, what you'll probably end up doing is modifying it and then allowing yourself to trace over it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
And you kind of mentioned earlier, that sounds very time intensive. We have a couple questions here about how much time you spend on your work. Specifically, we had a question about the Gamora one, like how many hours you'd put into a piece like that. But just like in general, how long does this process usually take? Because it's a lot more manual.
Oh man, I mean, I'm going really, really slow today because during our initial kickoff, someone said, you're moving too fast, go slow. So, you know, that's cool. Usually it depends. It really depends. It depends upon how much time I have from the client to play with. But if you go on my Instagram, and stroll around, you'll see that if I'm not busy, I'll start off the day with a few warm-ups. And what I mean by warm-ups is that I'll do a vector freestyle, similar to what I'm doing right now, but trying to be a bit faster. Vector freestyle, you know, is something that I came up with to coordinate with the fact that I'm drawing something and exploring at the same time. You know, just like your verbal freestyles in hip hop and rap, or your freestyles and like in different classes of sports and gymnastics. You know, I'm here flexing what I can in vector on my own time, and sometimes racing against the clock. So how fast have I done stuff? I've done a few vector freestyles as fast as 35 minutes. As far as the Gamora has taken me. That took me at least probably 5 hours in one day.
That's still really fast.
Yeah, I was about to say that's like so much faster than I could make anything valuable. That's crazy.
Well, it's wild. It takes a lot of time and a lot of confidence to understand your own speed. Your own benefit of understanding. Okay, cool. This is what I want to conquer. This is what I want to try to do within this time frame. And you'll get there by practicing and by understanding your own speed. It's like I tell a few friends that I tend to chat with throughout the week that are still students. I seriously do respond to DMs when you hit me up on Behance or Instagram. And one thing that they're always asking about is that how do you gain the experience to do it and have fun the way that I'm having it? And it's all about just practicing, And then I'll bring that into understanding a bit more about the real world, right? So understanding how fast you can move and confidently to deliver a piece, you could take that into terms and go, okay, cool. Now I could set up my own pricing guide. When I have someone go, hey, how much do you price by the hour or by the day, or by the project? I could ascertain that and answer it confidently by saying, okay, cool. That project's probably going to take me about 5 hours to do. And then you could put a price tag on that depending upon how you want to play. I tend to generally play by the project, right? Because at the project level, then you're able to take into account revisions, how many industry revisions you're going to allow people to have, right? The standard is 3, but you won't understand that to the full description of it unless you're able to understand how fast you can move.
Yeah,
Does that make
makes
sense?
total sense. Yeah, for sure. Do you have a clear picture of what you're creating from when you start out, or you just kind of like find your way? I mean, the freestyle definitely sounded a little bit more find your way on that, but how does that work when you're ideating on these things?
Well, that's a great question. That's a great question because usually, like I mentioned before, we're playing around and having to deliver against a brief, right?
Yeah.
So at times, I'll show you real quick. I'll turn these layers off and I'll just start something very quick and new. What I like to do is like something that I mentioned earlier with the automatic drawing. So I'll create a shape, right? And what I love about Illustrator and creating shapes in real time is that I can play around with it. How long does that take in Photoshop? Quite a bunch of different moves, right?
Yeah. We had someone in a chat asking if you could just, I think they want to learn more about that color thing. If you could just verbalize what you're thinking when you're choosing these colors for the gradients, like what's the thought process that goes into that?
Well, very, very close to what you might be thinking in terms of wanting to keep a very dynamic palette on the composition, cools and warms,
Exactly.
So you wanted to play with. Oh, go ahead, Sarah. Sorry about that.
That's what I think about exactly if I'm doing like watercolor or gouache or something. I also enjoy color theory a lot, and knowing how it works and how to manipulate colors to your best advantage throughout the piece. So I'll literally be thinking, like, I'll be mixing colors, and I'll literally be thinking, like, okay, I'm going to add a little bit of the opposite color to tone it down a little bit, and then a little bit of red to warm it up, that kind of thing.
And that's exactly what I'm trying to think of when I'm looking at this. You know, before I get too crazy with my colors, you know, if you haven't noticed, I'm playing around with the same color palette, the same gradient. Right? I'm just moving it around so I could get dimensionality out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
So
and warm.
And warm. But it's really kind of just my safety net of, like, being able to give something like this as a sketch to a client for them to understand before we go too deep or further down into the project. Right?
That makes total sense. Yeah.
A lot of the industry is like, oh man, you know, so when can I get the first round of colored of pencil sketches? And I'm like, no, you know what? I really don't do pencil sketches within my projects. You know, and they're like, what? And I'm like, no, I'll send you stuff in vector, and they'll bug out.
That's interesting.
They'll bug out, and then I have to let them know what the true benefit is. You know, I've been a creative director, like I've mentioned before, for a bunch of agencies, and when I was there, you know, what I really hated most was the time that I would lose between hiring an illustrator and allowing them to do their magic, and then finding out, okay, cool, nice pencils. When can I see some colored stuff, some colored renderings of our next choice? And that process would just be so long, so long. You would have, like, you know, 4 weeks of the upfront before you could get locked into the actual composition and illustration. That's 4 weeks, right? That's 4 weeks lost. What I like to do is try to take advantage of that and present color sketches up front. That way it's digital, and we're really making the best amount of time as possible to have a lot more time on the back end to play. Right?
That's very interesting. Because a lot of this, the attendees here seem to be SCAD students, and I know, like, a lot of art schools as well will typically have you start out with the, like, 12 to 15 to maybe 60 thumbnail sketches, and then go on to the black and white comps and the color comps after that.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, there's a reason why that process is there. You know, that process is there so that you could build up confidence and understand what's going on, right? Like, I'm not trying to tell everybody out there, listen, don't listen to your professors that are trying to get you into this. No, not at all. I probably have, like, a few professors, like, throwing tomatoes at this webcast right now. But in all honesty, it's there so that you can understand the fundamentals of not only what the industry has set up as a piece of culture within communication design and how to work with an agency, you know, but it's also there so that you can build up your own confidence to understand how fast you can move to deliver the best solution for your client. I mean, what we're doing is really trying to solve an equation for the client, right? We're providing a service of solutions, viable solutions that are working collaboration. Sorry.
That's a jambalaya.
I'm getting some dry cotton mouth right now. I've just been doing it for over, 25 years and having the, the insights of an agency going, I don't want to spend that much time. I want to get on to the next project. Sure. I want to have as much fun with my client right now, build that solid relationship and see what's going on from there. But at the same time, I enjoy what I do so much that I want to make sure that I'm delivering the best that I can, and then moving on to the next project. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, totally.
So I don't know. Do we keep on going with the first robot, or should I keep on continuing with this? How does everybody feel?
Yeah, chat, let us know. Do you like the first robot, or do we want to keep on going with this kind of the freestyle sketch that we started off? We have about 15 or so minutes left for the kind of drawing portion of this. Ooh, I'm seeing a lot that say the second one. They like the little bird. Cool. All right. Well, your new. Yeah, everyone loves this one. Your new assignment, guys. I want you to name the bird. It can't be. What was the one from before, Pepito? It can't be that one. We're gonna name the bird and the robot a different one this time.
The first answer to the robot was Rolando, and I love that.
Rolando.
Rolando.
That's crazy. So, what I really love enjoying too is slicing and dicing into shapes.
Mm-hmm.
Let me bring that back. So I'll grab this switchblade, right? And I'll just start creating a pattern down here, right? And then with that, let's see if we could change up the color like we did before. All right.
Changing those colors up. We had another question.
Those colors. There you go.
Ooh, I like Tin Fin for the name. We had a question about kind of like previous failures, and obviously we don't need to go too intense into this, but like, what are some lessons you learned along the way that kind of like pushed you to be who you are in terms of your work or as your artist, and how did you learn from that?
Oh man, I'll tell you, it's really all about paying attention to what you want to try to achieve, right? You want to be a creative director, then you're going to have to go through the rigors of understanding graphic design, visual identities, visual cues of personalities of brands. Even if you're just going to make a book cover, you got to understand that there's different fonts that promote and resemble different personalities. So I wanted to do it all. I actually wanted to be just a painter, a gallery painter, and just try to do what I can. And all along the way, other than going to art school, right? I really didn't know that I could go to art school. Seriously, I was going to join the Navy and go fly jet planes and fly 3 times the speed of sound and be really cool, And
yeah.
Because of that, I had a guidance counselor go, "Hey, man, you should go to art school." And I was like, "I don't want to die a poor artist, man, starving artist." That's all I knew about art history.
Oh no.
I don't want to do that. Don't send me to my doom. I'm only 17. No.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, it was a great 4 years. And then after that, I had to basically go to get a different job because the world went digital, and I had just graduated out of 4 years and I didn't know anything to do with a computer. So I had to save up and teach myself, but I was teaching myself the computer along the way that I had just been informed and taught from my professors, during my 4 years over at Pratt. you know? And that's why I kind of use the computer in such more of a traditional manner. You know, I want to drive. I don't want the computer to drive. I want to drive. I want to create. You know, my professor used to give me a hard time because when I got there, I was doing everything in airbrush. And it was the 90s. The airbrush was like this tool that you needed to know for, like, you know, painting blemishes out of, like, you know, dimples, you know, photography for all of that stuff. And they were like, hey, if you do one more piece in airbrush, we're gonna kick you out.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, and I was like, what? I'm paying tuition, man. You guys can't do that. And we're like, try us. And I was like, oh, no. You know, and I was listening to Sarah. Sarah's like, no, what? And, you know, it was a great challenge. It was a great challenge because I was one of these kids that didn't want to get their hands dirty. I was like, no, I don't want to do painting. It's going to be disgusting. I'm going to get dirty, you know? And lo and behold, it was like the best thing because, you know, I was learning, you know, new methods in painting and media. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, so I could totally get away with, you know, making a mess and making, you know, coming up with the realization that there's a reason why this thing looks like a mess. Do you understand? Like art theory. And people are like, well, you know, art theory is all about art theory is all about BS. You just have to have a good vocabulary, you know? And I'm like, well, not really. It's not really like that. But, you know, it's traits that have helped me along the way. So what's really helped me along the way is understanding, you know, what I wanted to try to explore and make as many mistakes as possible. You know, everybody wants to be perfect. And I think that the beauty of that is to understand the benefits of trial and error. Right?
Especially just
and then remembering where things might have went wrong.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Right? I said, yeah, especially just starting out, like making those mistakes and not being afraid to do so.
Totally. And then, you know, pushing yourself to go to the next level. You know, you know, once I got my computer and I stopped my time at being a security guard at the Met. Being a security guard at the Met was great. It gave me, you know, 3 continuous days during the week for myself. But at the same time, while I was there, you know, dressed in this monkey suit, you know, security guard, I was also having a very intimate relationship with all the artwork that was hung there, all the different, you know, gallery shows that were passing by.
Yeah, and you absorb it all.
I was reabsorbing everything that I had learned earlier.
Absolutely.
And getting a deeper affinity for it, you know? Oh, I didn't want that.
Was your style kind of like immediately accepted, or did you kind of have to work at it? Did you have to work for a little bit at first doing a different style? How did that work?
Well, let me tell you something, you know. Well, let me tell you something, Quint.
This is for Francisco.
You know, we all start there. We're all like, oh, man, you know, I want my own style. I want my own style. And I'll tell you, yes, definitely try to embark on your own style whenever possible. Don't let the industry to tell you, well, hey, we want it this way. It's only going to be this way. Well, if you're pressed for money or you're pressed for time or you're pressed for a portfolio, then sure, take the job, right, and do what they believe that the industry has asked for, you know. But what's beautiful about being confident and having to embark on your own creative path, your own journey, to try to boost up and nurture and evolve your own creative voice is that being different is a plus. You know, having a particular creative visual signature is a plus. You know, it's a plus because now you have particular creative directors and art buyers that are representing different agencies and brands looking for the next cool visual piece or representation or style or flair or culture. This is all just visual culture. Once you allow yourself to paint it into a corner, no pun intended, by the industry, we all want it to look like Drew Struzan, or we all want it to look like Disney. Disney has a particular look and feel. Then you know what? Screw them, move on. And let them later on call you and go, hey, what's going on? We want to play with you, with that really sick commercial voice, that VO. And then when that happens, that's beautiful, because I think what's going on right now is that, there's a lot of students out there that are afraid to allow their individuality, their creative voice, to really shine through and be a benefit. They're so caught up in the stress of, oh man, it's not good enough, or it's ugly, or it doesn't look like so-and-so's style. Well, of course not. It's special because it's yours. You know what I mean? It's your style. Keep at it, and there'll be, I run into this all the time. I run into this when I was playing around with like my symmetry style, my symmetry look. I went on to Adobe Live, and within the end of the session, there were like a whole bunch of folks doing that style. And I was like, well, hey, that's cool. Hey, man, it's a compliment. I'm like, no, not really. I think it's a cop-out for the student. The student's not really gravitating and understanding the benefit of what they're going to school to understand and learn. You're not going to school from somebody that's existent. You're learning to understand the rigors of building confidence within a visual trade that has to compete daily with millions and millions and millions out there. Oh, it's stressful. But I tend to tend to tell folks that don't think about that. Think more about how you're able to, have fun and deliver across, a particular challenge from a client or from a friend or from a business proposal, or somebody that's like, hey man, I need a new logo, I need a new T-shirt, I need a new vinyl sticker for my hot rod. You know what I mean? Hey man, I started, one spring break when I was in high school. I stole my mom's car and I went down to go visit friends in Tampa, and I brought my airbrush. At the time it was really cool because there's like this whole hip hop scene of painting jeans and denim jackets, and I was doing all of that. And I ended up going down to visit my buddy Luis Hernandez, and I brought my airbrush, and I started wearing my Bart Simpson jeans and my denim jacket, and people were like, what the hell, where'd you get that? And I was like, no man, I paint them. Within that week time, I was not only partying at night, but during the mornings I would wake up and be like, oh man, I've got to do these like 5 different denim jackets by the end of the day.
That's so great.
No, man, you gotta have a hustle, man. You seriously have to have a hustle, and that's the cool thing, because it really initializes a call to wanting to explore, a bit of interests from folks out there. Do you understand what I mean by that? It's like if there's folks going, whoa, where'd you get that? Or did you do that? The next thing out of your mouth other than yes is, hey, I could do one for you too.
Yeah, you got to solicit yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always giving thanks. Always giving thanks. And I'm not talking about like from a ultra spiritual, higher than thou, but I'm always giving thanks to those that take a minute to say, wow, nice job, or hey, that looks great.
Absolutely.
You got to give thanks, You got to give thanks for everything that you've gone through and all the hard work that you've endured and all the support and all the mutual support that you have for some of your brethren out there. It's just not a one-man show. I tend to learn a lot, even from my peers. People are like, but it's all competition. Well, yes and no. The industry sets up these competitions because they have to, But us as individuals, we don't really have to play that way.
It's amazing how far like simple kindness will take you in your industry and just in life in general.
Seriously, I'm a big believer of that.
Mm.
All right. Just as a heads up, we have about 10 more minutes for this kind of section here. We've stretched out this area because we think we've got something cool going on here. So I just want to give you a little 10-minute warning in terms of time we have left to go through this, and then I'll do my aero demo and show everyone how to do that.
Sure, cool. Just let me know so I could, put a stop to this and upload what we got to upload to you. So
yeah, let's go for another 5 minutes.
Do you need these layers named at all?
Nah, they don't have to be named.
You sure?
Yeah, that's fine. Right. I'm not going to look through them that way.
Oh, that's cool. Do we have any other questions from out there? I mean,
we have
a couple.
Just more recently, what's the tool that you're using to, what was it? That looks like shadowing the details. This is the tool that you were just using a moment ago, it seems.
Oh, shadowing the details. I really don't know which one they might be talking about, because I don't know if it's this guy. This guy's a bristle brush, right? If you find it in your brush palette, open library, bristle brush, and it opens up to this, right? And that's the one that I tend to generally use like an airbrush, right? Mm. And you can actually soften these guys up even more. Look at that.
Yeah, so we're going into that blur layer.
And creating it like it's literally like an airbrush. And once you have that selected, here in the appearance palette, I could turn it on or turn it off. Mm-hmm. Or go back and modify it.
Okay, gotcha. You also, I've noticed you use the, you use the pen tool, or not the pen tool, the pencil tool, and kind of like modify the stroke that way too for a lot of these like organic shapes.
Yeah, the pencil tool is pretty cool when it really wants to play. I start off with a very, very kind of just abstract shape at the very start of this. Right? Mm-hmm. At times, what I can do is grab the other pencil, the white pencil, and that's for actually smoothing out any hard edge impartialities that I might have. Sweet?
Yeah, no, that's working.
But the pencil for me is literally, something that I just love to play around with.
Yeah. Makes it a lot more natural than just clicking points on a screen.
It allows me to get dimensionality really, really fast if I have a gradient already picked out. How fast can you do that in Photoshop? I don't think you can do it as fast as I just demonstrated it to you. And what I love about is the minimalism of that. Just 3 strokes. Right? Not a whole lot of work, but wow, pretty different look.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's the thing that I try to tell, folks to do is to actually doodle and have fun making mistakes and try to come up with a valid reason as to why they're there.
It's got a little ghost friend now. I love him.
Yeah.
Cool. So we're going to wrap up the Illustrator demo here and go ahead and we're going to show you how to save it as a PSD and bring it into Adobe Aero.
Oh my God, a PSD!
A PSD, is that legal?
Is that even legal? What are you talking about, Quint? All right, so sure. So I guess we got 9 layers here. 1, 2, 3. I don't know how to count. You know, I'm just an artist. We don't like math.
I don't like the numbers.
There you go. But it's a very quick demo of demonstrating you guys, you know, how to play with different tools within the Illustrator native palette of tools. Like, I didn't create anything new. Everything's there, originally there to start off with. It's just playing with your imagination and having some time to explore your creativity. So we're going to export this now as a PSD. Correct?
Correct.
Yep.
Yes.
And this is, guys, this is so we can bring it into Adobe Aero. I'm going to show you one of the really cool things you can do with that when we get it in there. But it just requires a layered PSD file once you get that. Hey,
Quint, what kind of resolution do you want from this? Medium, high, screen?
Let's do,
screen?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, let's do high. I think high works best.
Holy crap. That's going to be 300 DPI. Okay. Sure. No problem.
I think it downscales. Okay. When it brings it in, so we should be good.
All right. So right layers, we're all there. Some containers that has been flattened. Some containers are other. Man, we don't want to flatten the work like that, dude.
Not at all.
All right. Well, let's see what happens. You know, I'll send that over your way right now. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'll stop sharing my screen. That way I could at least jump on the internet and upload this to your dump file. What do you want to
Sounds good. Yeah. I think we're good. Most people will just have it on their desktop, so we should be good to go.
I mean,
and while you work on that, we have a couple other questions.
Here's the final look of kind of the of what's there. You know?
Yeah.
Not a whole lot. The file's not heavy. I could actually email this file to a client right now if I wanted to. And since it's scalable, you know, they could blow it up to be the size of a building.
Love that vector art. It's super efficient.
All right, I'm going to save this. Cool. Oh, no! It's all good. I had saved the file earlier before I jumped on. But anyway, listen, yeah. Let me stop sharing the screen. There you go.
Hello, everyone. Cool. Welcome back. It's good to see you.
Hello. It's great to see you. What's going on?
And then cool. I have that up right now. So as soon as that's done, we'll get that. And then I think we had just a couple more questions in chat and on the question feature. I think Sarah can take you through some of those while I'm getting all my stuff set up here.
Yeah. We have a question from Francisco, and he is wondering if you have any advice for networking and how to get our work in front of high-level people in big companies such as Marvel.
Oh, great question. You know, when it comes to networking, the internet's a great place to build up some supporters, some team members. You know, I use Behance most often. I don't even have a website. Seriously, I've taken down my website over 6-7 years ago. I just went totally Behance, and from Behance, what I would do is that I would develop a strategy for marketing and promotion where I would use my Instagram and my Facebook and my Twitter, and if I wanted to drive traffic, I would post an image of the artwork to my social feeds, and then include the Behance link to it. Now, if we're talking about network, obviously Behance has a really rich and supportive community. So does your fan base and your team base Instagram feeds. But I would take it a step further. I would go to LinkedIn, create a profile, jot down, my professional background or my student background, what courses I've taken, when am I graduating, or when I have graduated and looking for apprenticeships or anything like that. But I would generally post up and draw awareness to new pieces and have it all drive back to my portfolio or my Behance page. A really good exercise is whenever you're traveling or if you're a fan of magazines, go to your local bookstore or magazine shop. Open up the magazine, and there's always kind of a masthead credit block within the first few upfront pages that'll list all of the people that are involved within the production of that particular magazine. Everything from your editor to your creative director to your writer to your account person. Sometimes even the actual factory is named of the printing press of where these magazines are printed. I would write these down or take a snapshot with my phone of this masthead, and then I would jump on LinkedIn and try to find these names and try to send them an invite to be part of my network. If they respond back, then I'm able to start a conversation, and instead of just like jamming my work down their throat, I would do some research and find out the personality of that company or that brand, that toy factory, that magazine, whether it's all about heavy metal or whether it's about hip hop or whether it's about home interior design or whether it's about politics. And then what I would do is that I would create a PDF of like 3 samples of work or illustrations that pertain to that subject matter and send it to them and see whether there's any opportunity for me to be able to collaborate with them. It's all about having the confidence to take the first step and create, a conversation. It's communication. And we're all about communication design, right?
Yeah. That's a great answer.
Totally.
That's exactly what we're learning in our in a lot of classes actually right now, particularly career strategies and editorial illustration. Just looking at like going to Barnes and Noble and looking at that masthead and reading all the names.
Seriously, I mean the same thing is true with looking at movie credits. Sure, Marvel has had a majority of the world sit for these post-credit scenes, and you're there and you're reading all these names, and somebody's always got to throw it out there like, Jesus, come on, how many people does it take to make a film? But
yeah,
I'm the one looking for not only a few of my friends that are in the industry, but I'm also looking at, who I need to at least jot down very quickly so I could reach out via LinkedIn and say, hey, what's going on? Congratulations, and hopefully there's an opportunity for us to collaborate on a new piece of business or project. There's you don't sit on your laurels. Don't sit on, that beautiful cushion $200 office seat that you have there. Motivate, get up. Sure, the pandemic right now is a pain in the ass, but so you could still motivate if you're being safe, if you're practicing your safety measures when you're out in public. But still, you could still get some of these informations online. Visit, any magazine that has a website, and I'm sure that the credits are still listed there.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, I am ready to go with my.
Did you get
ready
the
to go
file?
with my demo? So can you do it? Yep, I got it. It's in Aero. Yep, it's looking good. I did a little test before, so let me go ahead and share my screen with everyone. And I'm going to show you how to take this really cool illustration that we've done, and we're going to put it into Adobe Aero for an AR experience. So you go ahead and do that.
That's cool.
Hopefully, that is the goal. we'll see. I'm a little worried about these layers, man. I know that you're really intense with your layers, so we'll see how those pan out.
Hey,
All right, looks like it's loading
anything.
up right now. That is absolutely true. Layers do not cost anything. So we have the file here, and all I did was I just dragged and dropped that layered PSD from Illustrator into this Adobe Aero window. And what I'm going to do here is two really simple things that you guys can use to take your illustrations and make them AR experiences. The first one is we're going to set it down in this bottom right area here under properties. Just with this horizontal surface at the top selected, we're going to say vertical surface. And what this is going to do is it's actually going to start looking in the AR application. It's going to look for a vertical surface, like a wall or a stop sign or something like that. And it's going to use that to place this object onto it. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into SCADmexifunk, the name of our layer here, and I'm going to bring up my properties window. And the really cool thing that it has here is this feature for layer spacing. So what I'm going to do is just ever so subtly, I'm going to increase the layer spacing on this SCADmexifunk thing. And you can see here, we're starting to see the anatomy of Orlando's illustration here. Some of the things that's really cool with this is that you might want to go through and like test it here and then go back and change how the layers look. Maybe you parent something to a different layer, you have something else on a different layer. But I think even just like as it is right now, we're getting this really cool effect with this illustration, the different layers. And we can click on it, and maybe if we want it to be flush with that wall, we can bring it out until we get that little blue alignment marker. And literally, guys, that is it. That is all. We've made this into a really cool immersive AR experience.
That's so cool.
And if you want to share it with people, thank you. We have this little arrow up in the top right. We can click on that guy, and it'll generate a link for you or a QR code that you can send to anyone, and they can download that to their phone and see it anywhere they go. So it's a super duper easy way to take this illustration and really push what's possible with people and let them experience it the way that you want them to. So thank you, Orlando, for this awesome illustration. I really appreciate it. It's looking really cool.
Next level, man. Definitely going to be exploring that with some of the new illustrations that I'll be going down the line with, man. I've always wanted to jump into AR and wow, this is totally just giving me the keys to explore with that. So thank you so much, Quinn.
You had a really cool idea when we were talking about this originally about one of the things that Adobe Aero can do is recognize an image. So if you want, you can print out just a flat version of your, here, someone's asking for the link. I'll get that to you guys. You can print out just a flat version of this, put it up on a wall, have it recognize that image, and put your phone up to it, and it'll expand out. And one of the cool things we were thinking of is maybe doing that with street signs. Since I just have an image of a stop sign, every stop sign can be an AR experience now, which is just like, I don't know, I'm getting the heebie-jeebies. That's so cool. I'm going to go ahead and paste the link in chat here for you guys. Cool. So let's move on. We're finishing up. Thank you so much, Orlando, for your time and your expertise and your knowledge. We appreciate all of it. Let's get to the moment that I know at least one of you has been waiting for, about the design challenge. Now, this is something that we put up just because we thought you guys might want to interact with this a little bit more and put your skills to the test. Orlando just gave us a great example, a couple of great examples of things that matter to him. We want to know what matters to you. SCAD has put together a design challenge so that you can show us what you've learned. Like we said, our prompt is to create an experience that matters to you. You're going to show us how your tools enable your creativity by making art in Illustrator and then bringing it into the 3D world like with Aero, just like we did today. You'll be judged on 3 different criteria by SCAD students who worked on this event. Does your submission answer the prompt? Does your submission utilize Adobe Aero's depth effect? And does your project wow us? In terms of technical details, you'll need to export your file as a .real file so we can include it in the winner's announcement. That's very simple. You just do File, Export as Real. It's just like you would anything else in Photoshop or Illustrator. Your submission has to be under 50 megabytes. We'd also love to have other information with the title, like a short description, your social media or portfolio links, so we can share it with the rest of the team if you win. And we're going to be cutting off submissions at midnight Mountain Time tonight. So get your submissions in by at least then. We know a lot of you guys have finals, so we want to do something short so that you could work on it and not have too much of an impact. The winner will get their work featured on our sponsors' social pages with a link to your portfolio. So these are companies like HP, all those guys that are helping us out today to put this on. They're going to put their work, or they're going to put your work up, and hopefully kind of get some of that networking like we were talking about with Orlando, so people start to see your work. So go ahead and take a screenshot of this last slide over here. We're going to put a slide up with all the crucial details. I know you guys had a couple questions in chat for that, so go ahead and take a screenshot. I'll let you guys do that just for a moment. And you want to enter in our Discord at bit.ly/SCADpro HP Discord for event updates, submissions, and help with troubleshooting if you have any questions. We are going to be putting the link to the submission in there, so definitely make sure you get that set up. You don't have to like actually be there for anything. You just have to be there to see the different content we put up.
That's so cool.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to seeing what people do with it.
Yeah,
all right, and that's our show.
Thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate everyone's time. We know it's a very busy time at the moment, but we really appreciate everyone, and thank you so much for coming. This has been a huge endeavor. It's been like a 20-week project between SCADpro and HP, Adobe, Intel, NVIDIA. We've done, I think, a really great job. This is our whole team, you can see here from this quarter. And if you're not familiar with SCADpro, it is a program at SCAD that connects students with companies, big and small, to find solutions that work in the real world. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is. And we really want you to join the Discord. Like Quint said, that's where the Q&A will be. More details about the design challenge, where you can find it and everything. So please join in if you just want to lurk or just ask us questions there.
Oh man,
thank you so much
for having me on. SCADpro, SCAD, Quint, Sarah, Ryan, D by HP, NVIDIA. I mean, man, tomorrow's going to be insane with the 3D folks jumping on. And the ongoing contest. This is wild. So definitely I'll be tuning in as well. So just wanted to say thank you so much to everyone out there for paying attention. I hope that some of this has inspired you to play with Vector and not be so afraid or timid with it.
Definitely.
Thank you.
And thank you so much, Orlando. We appreciate you being here. If you thought this event was great, to everyone else in the crowd, if you thought this event was great and you learned something new, or you're thinking to yourself like, wow, I wish I could get more of this goodness in my life, I have some fantastic news for you. We're going to have another event for 3D design similar to this one on Thursday at the same time. There's some good stuff there for everyone. I know some people in the audience here might not have ever used any 3D software before, so we want to make sure to give everyone something that'll enhance their work. We'll teach you how to take that 2D art that you're already making, like logos or collaterals, and supercharge it with 3D and AR models. Imagine sending a client collaterals in AR so they can see it in the real world instead of on a flat PDF. It's super accessible and a whole lot of fun. And if we have any SCAD students here, I know I saw a couple. We know you don't have class on Thursday in this block, so I expect to see you guys there. Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. Thank you, Orlando, for showing us all these really cool, juicy secrets. And I think we're going to end. We'll see you guys in the Discord. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye.